Everybody needs to know that we are facing down a moment that could lead to the taking away of our privacy about anything that we hold dear.
If you think that this is just about abortion, I am here to say that it is also about contraception. It will soon be about same-sex marriages. It will soon be about intra-racial or interracial marriages. It will soon be about immigration. It is ultimately about power and hierarchy. And that is something that we should all be desperately afraid of, because ultimately we too will be singled out.
The entire history of the United States has been about expanding rights, not restricting rights, not rolling back rights. And this Supreme Court is poised to roll back constitutionally protected rights. And don't think for a second, this is where they stop.
Roe v. Wade was always the floor. It was never supposed to be the ceiling. And we always should have been fighting for access to all types of healthcare, not just the right to have it.
I believe that women deserve the same rights as everybody else, and that means the right to control our own bodies and our own futures. And I will fight every day to make sure that my daughter has those same rights that I have had my entire life.
Because someone you know is using contraception. Someone you know is having complications getting pregnant. Someone you know is contemplating having an abortion. Someone you know is struggling with pregnancy, is struggling with raising a family. Someone you know wants to be free to make their own decisions about their health care. And I'm just asking for folks to pause and think about your relationship to the rest of this world and to all of us, because there are so many people in pain. And your silence, maybe because of your fear, suggests that you're not in the fight. And if you speak up, if you share, if you ask questions, it will remind yourself and everyone else that you are in the fight. And that is how we win. We win by being together.
You can make your position be heard, because everybody needs to be protective of our future.
Most importantly, get informed and vote at every single election, at every single level. What's happening at the Supreme Court level didn't happen overnight. It happened in a very systematic, organized way, and it's time for us to be really strategic and laser focused on taking back and fighting back right now.
And it's not radical for you to decide when, how, and if you want to have children. And it's not radical to be pissed off right now that the generation behind us, my kid who's here today, is gonna grow up with less rights than I grew up with. That's not radical, that's right.
Everything that's at stake, we can learn from the past. So this is not a new fight, it is a continued fight that is inclusive and welcoming to anyone that wants to fight for reproductive freedom, and ensuring that the decision within the Supreme Court on Roe v. Wade ultimately doesn't hurt and damage other decisions that came after it, such as the right to marry anyone and whom you love across the country.
The right to have a child, the right to not have a child, or the right to have a child and raise that child in an environment that is safe and in an environment that is free from violence. And so ultimately, that is all we have to learn. Realizing that our ideal world is a world where people feel safe and people feel capable of self-determination.
It's important to remember that the anti-abortion movement is actually not really about abortion per se. It's really part of a larger movement of white supremacy. They are not going to stop at abortion.
What we know is that abortion has been attached to stigma, it's been attached to shame. It's part of what policymakers use to really control people and allow for laws like this that are really cruel to continue to move forward. And it's just important right now that there's humanity put back in some of these decisions that folks are making that really affect people's lives. And I think talking about abortion and how it affects people's dignity, how it affects their very health, but also decisions that affect their future and the opportunities that they face and their future families and all of those things, it's important to talk about. We're fighting back we're fighting for rights and we're fighting for justice. And so those are the times we're in, and it's what we have to do.
We say abortion. We will not leave people vulnerable to the tyranny of a loud minority. We won't leave them vulnerable to the hypocrisy of ideologues who demand forced births but refuse to bear the responsibility of supporting those children once they're here. Not here, not in California. In California, the choice to have an abortion is yours, is yours, is yours.